Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lost Minds podcast. My name's Emily.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are going to be talking today about the possibility of Trump running for president in 2024. We're just going to keep it casual and share some thoughts that we have about that. You want to go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting topic to talk about because I've been seeing people talk about it on Twitter, and I know he's been active on the news and stuff, and he's also banned from Twitter and stuff like that still, which is, kind of makes things interesting. And if he were to run as a candidate, he would have to get unbanned from social media,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which
that's true.
is wild. So yeah, I mean, do you think? I think he would probably win. If he ran,
I think
especially
he
if it
would
was against
probably,
Kamala Harris.
oh, yeah, for sure. I think he would probably win just based off of the back and forth that our country usually does with presidents and
Yeah,
different it's not just the president. He because I've seen him say that they're gonna take back the Senate and all this different stuff, which is not a surprise or anything. It's not a
right.
shock. But yeah, I feel like the way that things teeter all the time, especially with presidents, it's very likely. And I think Biden has really screwed up a lot that even lefties are kind of seeing it now and can't really defend a lot of the things that have been happening. So, yeah. And I think also just people that don't pay attention to politics are angry about a lot of stuff that's happening right now. So,
Right. And do you think, I don't think it would be as big. I don't think it would be to the extent that it was in 2016. Hey. I don't think it would be to the extent that it was in 2016, but um do you think he could have that, like him against the establishment kind of identity back if he were to run again? Or do you think he's entrenched himself enough into
do I
it?
think that he could get away with it with his base? Yes. And maybe some people who don't pay attention? Yes, because of everything that's with gas prices and the COVID situation and just the Ukraine situation. Even people who aren't anti-war or whatever are still angry that all that money that what is it 41 billion or something went to Ukraine. So I think yeah, he probably could. I think the longer that people are not in office, their approval ratings get higher. People forget about what they did in office. Unless you're super knowledgeable and involved in politics, it's really hard for people to remember that stuff, and even care. So it's probably likely that at least for some areas of the population it would be. I think for lefties like us, obviously not. And even liberals, I think that they would be, a little bit more aware of that. But yeah, I think
That
for the
kind of
general
leads
population.
yeah, and that kind of leads me to my other question. Do you think the reaction from the country would be any different than the first time that he won?
If he won,
Yeah, I feel like it'd be worse.
I feel like it'd be worse. I feel like if he ran, even if he was just announcing he was running, it'd be worse.
Oh my god, the shitstorm.
Yeah, from the libs would be insanity. Um yeah, but I think it would just,
especially if he had DeSantis as his running mate. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel like he dipped into so much of the culture war as he was heading out.
And still even is.
Right. I feel like
because we haven't seen his rallies unless you really look for them, because it's not on social media.
Right.
But
and especially if he gets a spotlight back on him, he's gonna do everything to trigger the libs or whatever the lingo is.
Yeah.
So
sure.
oh my lord, it's gonna be such a
yeah. And then it's gonna be worse for people like us and this organization to talk about ending the two-party system and not voting third party, because you're gonna get even more shame than what you did probably in last election. I think
it'll be good.
Because,
it'll be good for this program and this network as far as ratings and viewership.
Yeah.
Because Trump is just, I don't know, he makes people pay attention.
Yeah.
But
it's just that
it'll be the back and forth and we're gonna be the odd man out kind of. We're gonna be
because
what is going
even
on
last year, coming out of the Trump presidency, you're more you're more likely for people to like see the bad in whatever person is in office at the time. And I think it was easier for people to point out like, oh yeah, Trump was bad, but also we haven't seen what Biden can do or like his administration, so we need to try that. And I think that was like a lot of the libs, like when they would shame you for voting the third party, that's what they would say to you. And I think now that we've seen Joe Biden, it's like they're going to be worse because of all the stuff that they have done. Like their general opinion amongst population about even Kamala running because she was part of his administration, or Democrats in general, I think will be really low. Like approval for that would be really low. And so they'll push even harder that we need to vote for Democrats because it's even worse. It's even worse now that they've been in office for 4 years. So
do you think communities of color would vote for Trump, or do you think they would just not vote at all?
I think that they would probably just not vote. I don't know. What do you think?
I genuinely don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. Nothing shocks me
Nothing
anymore.
shocks me, but I think that they're pretty consistently, like, not that they always vote for all.
I don't even mean like not
but
unanimously, obviously. I
yeah,
just mean like
you
in
probably
2016,
would.
a lot of people, a lot of like Latinos voted for Trump.
Well, that's because of like religious things too.
Yeah,
I feel
but
like
he would still have those people.
yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Do
I
you
feel
think he
like
could sway more of the people that get into that like that demographic that is poor no matter who's in power?
yeah,
They're more willing to get angry at the Democrats.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
I don't know.
I think that people are more willing to get mad at the Democrats though because they like they've never been like a pro worker party, but they've like had instances where they have done things to.
Well, I mean, if you give people false hope, they're gonna get angrier.
Right.
Just
Yeah, and
telling
that
them
too.
flat out that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that people have this perception that like Democrats are the party of workers, the party of the working class, and like the party of the like poor people. And I think that yeah, they have already that kind of like bias swayed like towards them, you know, because of that.
Oh, I almost sent you an article the other day. Bernie Sanders is not ruling out potential run in 2024 if Biden doesn't want to run. Apparently, that's reports. You know how that stuff can be. Yeah. Isn't that great?
No. If Bernie Sanders wants to run in the Green Party and finally take up their offer of having him as a part of that party.
Just with how disenfranchised most leftists are now, I don't even understand what the thought process is behind him wanting to run. I don't.
I think it prepares people. It energizes. It's not even just, I don't think it's about winning for him though. I don't think he's running. He would be running win. He's running to build energy. Well, that's what it is. In my thought, he's building energy up to keep people invested in the Democrats for long periods of time. I don't think that it would be I don't think it's a winning strategy. I think it's just for them to continue to get people feeling like they have someone fighting for them and that they need to be invested in the Democratic Party. Because it wouldn't be successful. And I think we already we know for a fact that that's not going to end up being successful. And it's actually really funny how people like do the whole, oh, well, third parties aren't viable thing. But at the same time, like what you're doing also isn't viable, my dude. Like what you've done, we've tried multiple times and it's not working out for you. So I don't know what.
Well, you say every time that third parties aren't viable. It's like, well, yeah, nothing's going to be viable if you don't try. But you say that, and after like 8 years, think about how viable something could be in 8 years of trying.
And that's the thing is like,
but it's just this constant. Oh yeah, no, it's like rejecting it before. It's like when people, a pet peeve of mine is when people say they don't like a food. They've never tried it. It's like, okay, well, you don't know.
Well, I think that people are wanting like some small wins. I think that people are really scared of I think people, especially like lefties, they're scared. Bless you.
Excuse me.
They're scared of bless you.
Oh boy.
They're scared of people, of like specifically the mainstream media. Like I know in a lot of the spaces that I'm a part of, people still bring up the fact of like we need to watch out and like look, pay attention to how we're going to be perceived on the media. We need to really make sure that the media covers this, or like,
Right.
different, things like that. And I think that we really just have to realize that the media already doesn't like us and won't like us. So regardless of what we do, we're not going to get the coverage. Like they're likely to not even cover the things that we do. And even if they do cover them, it's not going to be good coverage. So what's the point of caring so much about it? And so I think it's a similar thing. It's like, oh, if we see like Bernie Sanders lose, or if we see, or people see that, Medicare for all, we've tried to force a vote and it, fails and it doesn't pass, then people will think that Medicare for all isn't a good idea. Like that's not how things work. That's not how that situation works. One, they're already talking shit about Medicare for all. They already don't want us to have Medicare for all. So why does it matter? Like the media is going to talk about you regardless of that, especially because of, because of who they are paid by. So it's like, why not just try the thing? I think that it's a mixture of that. And then also just the fact that a lot of people who are engaged in politics are feeling very burnt out, very hopeless. And I think humans don't like to feel like that. Like, that's just part of human nature. And I think that people feel like we need small wins. Like, oh, I don't want to risk losing something, even if it pushes ideology in the country further left. I don't want to lose that because I need the small hope. You know what I mean? So,
and I mean, and Trump running is, I mean, it is bad for third parties for the hope of that. Not, I mean, it's not, I'm not saying that there's not any hope, but he's just such a boogeyman figure that it provides such a cover for people to just run and vote for Dems. And justify it by how bad he is.
And I think that a lot of Trump supporters too, that's a huge base that third parties can tap into and should be tapping into, because a lot of people in 2016 voted for Trump because they didn't know how he was going to be as president.
Right.
And they didn't have any precedent for that. He was never a politician. And he said that he was an outsider and he was going to like, dismantle the establishment and all of those things. And I think people really held on to that. I think now people that are like culty Trump supporters, I mean, I feel like on both sides, it's stupid to be like cultish towards any party. But also I think that the Democrats do shame so heavily people that are Republicans, that even if they're not like longtime, lifelong Republicans that always vote Republican or don't really hold those values completely, they still put them in such a box that's so dehumanizing that it's just like they'll never step out of that party anymore, because that's the only place that they're accepted in a way,
Yeah. And there is a flip side to the third party thing as far as Trump goes, because there were a lot of people that voted for Trump in 2016 that had voted for Obama, and then they came back and voted for Biden in 2020. So what are those people going to do? There's no way they're satisfied if they voted for Trump in 2016
and then voted for Biden.
Exactly. So where are they going to go?
Yeah.
So those people are up for grabs. I mean, anything could happen at this point.
Yeah.
The political system is so ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point where every, presidential election or Senate election, it's wearing people down to, I think, the point where it's just going to come to the point where people are going to give up on the two-party system. I can't see.
It just feels like a parody of real life. It doesn't feel, I don't know. It's crazy.
But it's just at some point, people they're always going to be, diehard Democrats and diehard Republicans, and that's not going to change. But I think the outskirts of those parties are definitely going to change in the upcoming years. I don't even know if we have to do anything really about it. Like, I think obviously us talking about it is good and organizing around it is good. And there's a lot of changes that we have to make to the system in order to make third parties viable as well. Like, we should have ranked choice voting, and we should have changes to media, and we should, decommission some of these commissions that keep like third parties off of the debate stage and stuff like that. But also, I think as far as support for third parties, I think it will grow inevitably, like regardless of what people do. I think
I'm leaning towards that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just going to become an inevitable thing at this point, because we've seen it happen over the last few years, and it's only going to get worse as with like this midterm election is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I think, especially if we for sure have Trump running, it's going to be a big point of contention and frustration for people. And I think people are going to get sick and tired of the cultish like arguing as
Absolutely.
well.
Let's hope.
I don't really get irritated with arguing about politics. Like it's not, I feel like conflict about this stuff is normal, but I also feel like it is annoying, and I see how people get annoyed with the like culty politics.
When it's about superficial things that don't really matter and don't affect people's lives or day-to-day lives, that's when it's annoying.
Yeah.
When it's just family members fighting about petty little status things. Like, I don't like, nobody likes that.
Yeah.
It's infuriating.
But I think like as a lefty, and this is the conversation that I had is like in like 2016 too, or 2020, it's like, okay, yes, like Trump gets elected one more time, and then like long term, what happens? Like we were arguing that by Biden winning, and we know that Biden wasn't going to do anything for people, you would risk the chance of either having Trump come back tenfold and like way more, conservative than what he was originally, or you run the risk of having someone that's way farther left or farther right than Trump running with him. And I think it depends on who his running mate is too. I mean, that could definitely affect the way that he legislates as well. But I think it just as a lefty, it's like, is it better to have Trump come back and have liberals see that, hey, lefties were right about this situation? Like we told people that Trump was going to win in 2024 if we voted for Biden and didn't actually hold the Democratic Party accountable for something. And so it's like a short-term strategy versus a long-term strategy. Like, yes, would it be awful if Trump was in office? Absolutely. Also like thinking long-term though, like what is going to teach our country the biggest lessons? Because like 2016 was a huge lesson for people, and it got people involved in politics, but 2020 was like a large setback in my mind. Like we stepped back, and now we all are under this, a lot of people are under this like false illusion that we're okay and everything's fine and we're being taken care of. I think some people who aren't directly affected by that aren't being, aren't like in poverty and stuff. But I think like it begs the question of, if Trump were to win again, how much do you think that would change the opinions of liberals who are like diehard Democrats? And would that start to change their mind and think like, shit, maybe our situation isn't working? You know what I mean?
I think for them, I don't think their minds will ever be changed. I think at the most they will just become less politically active, which is,
or maybe I mean like, or maybe I mean, or maybe I mean lefties, like lefties who are consistently, supported Bernie for, 2 presidential campaigns, and then lefties that could have had the opportunity who voted for Bernie to say, I'm not voting for, Biden if we don't get certain things. Yeah. Like, do you think that those people will have a change of heart in some
I do.
way?
I hope they would. I don't know.
And then is that better for the greater good in the long term? Because would that push those people farther left to the point where it's like, we do actually bolster a lot of third parties in a way? Yes. Is 4 years of suffering worth possibly getting third parties and or more direct action, more like involvement?
The ones that aren't entrenched in their obsession with their like status and their wealth. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a big moral debate, and like I think like that is to be debated, like what is, but I think that there's ways that we can focus on harm reduction without doing it by voting. You know what I mean? Like having Trump win in office might be a better long-term solution to push more people to the left. And also that's why like we believe, and a lot of people on the left believe in like mutual aid, because we believe in harm reduction, but we believe it's going to have to come from our communities, not from politicians, because they don't want to take care of us. So that's the question that I have is like, is it even worth it to, would it be worth it in the long run to have more people, especially lefties who were like diehard Bernie supporters and then went to Biden, to just like start to go farther left? And I think maybe, especially if we were all to be, all able to come together. And it wasn't like when Trump ran and won in 2016 where everyone like got out on the streets and did some symbolic marches and, shit. Like if we actually got serious about taking care of each other, building mutual aid networks, and like creating direct actions that are not just symbolic and like might be a little violent, might be a little bit risky, might be a little bit, it might push the envelope a little bit. I think that would be worth it to me. Like we would start to see our politicians be scared of us instead of, okay, cool. You want to come and do the symbolic march and protest around the Capitol? Okay, we'll get your permit and you're good. And we don't need to worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that was what I basically wanted to cover this week was just not anything specific that we had to do a lot of research for, but just kind of talking from the top of our heads about, the prospect of Trump running again, because it is a big possibility that he will. It actually is kind of likely at this point. So I just thought it would be cool to talk about the idea of that. But yeah, you got some plugs you want to make?
Yeah, and also this episode, let us know what you think because this is a topic. So let us know what you think in the comments about Trump running or anything that we mentioned here today. Just some like plugs we always do. Follow or like, subscribe, comment on our videos. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. All the information for the two-party system is below. Information and all of our links for our social media to support our channel financially is below. And then our personal channel that we have on YouTube is also down there. I always leave mutual aid resources down there, so check those out. And then make sure that you check out the other shows on the channel that are happening this week. And yeah, other than that, we will be back on Monday for another episode. And yeah, we appreciate you tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.